Welcome, golf fans, pursuers of knowledge and the almighty dollar. This is your golf guru bringing you the Travelers Championship. This is my before the lock, my value plays, ownership projections, weather, you name it, everything you need to know before you lock in those final bets and those DFS lineups. And with that said, thank you for stopping by. I'm going to try to give you all the information to give you a little more edge as we go into the weekend. All right, let's do this. So first off, just again, real quick to cover, if you missed any of the previous shows, just so you know, when I'm going over the value plays, these are the players that, of course, are going to unlock your lineups. They're going to be the differentiators, the guys that we need that typically are going to help you win. It's not often the guys at the top. It's the guys that are 7,500 and below that make the big difference. And so when I'm going through these guys, also, just so you know, these are the comp courses that I'm going to be banging them up against. Also, because some of these guys probably have not played in the 2020 PGA Championship or some of the FedEx events. I'm also going to look at the 3M Open. I think it's applicable as one more reference point. So just a heads up on that. Okay, let's go jump in. First thing, let's do ownership projections, and then I'll go into all the analysis on the value plays. Okay, so jumping over to Fantasy National, this is where this information is coming from. And again, how this kind of works is what you're looking at is you have a lot of people like myself who pick our favorites, generate multi lineups. And then in there, what we want to look at is what we have as ownership projection over here on the right. And you can see, funny enough, DJ is less than 8% owned. So some people going with the thought process of probably 2 points. Maybe DJ's game is not where we like it. But also, I think the most expensive guy, I mean, they're going to save $300 and they're moving down to Bryson. That's also was kind of my methodology. But just so you know, at the top, your top three chalkiest players is going to be Bryson. You've got Cantlay and you've got Casey all coming in around 24.5%. You also got Scotty Scheffler coming in at 19%. Abe Answer, 22%. So funny enough, again, some of my picks, Brian Harman over 18%. You got the Hoff coming in at 17%. That one could be interesting. I don't know why, but everything's telling me that I don't think Hoffman's going to have that great of a week. And Siwoo Kim, Pete Dye course, he's at 15%. Got Harris English after the good showing at the U.S. Open and some life. It's at 14%. You got Scott and Bradley around 10. Doc Redman, again, one of my picks around 10%, almost 11%. Rafa Cabrera Bell, that's interesting. He's shown some life, and I looked at him from a value play. We'll talk a little bit about him, but he's less than 1% owned. I mean, again, he's had a hard time putting 4 rounds together, but he's definitely been showing some spurts of life, and this course could fit him very well. So just a note from a differentiator, you might want to look at him. I like Lanto. We're going to talk about him. He's only at 2%. You got Todd at 1%. I think he's a great fit here. I'm not sure why that is. But you got Grillo up to almost 13.5. Trying to see if anybody else, as we scroll down here. Knox, he's had some good showings at the Travelers, but I think his form is not where we want it. Patty Perez, he shows up pretty good on the model. Kyle Stanley, looked at him pretty hard from a value play because of his recent form, but the putter is just a disaster. So if he starts putting, he could be very liable. Look a little bit at him. He's almost at 11%. Ryan Moore. I mean, this course, when I multiple times, there's so many guys that fit the Ryan Armour, Ryan Moore, Brian Stewart, Garnett. Some of these guys below 7,500, Ches Reavie, any of those guys, they all kind of fit players. Chase Seifert, I think he had one little misstep, but it's had good form. Hoagie, definitely good in a showdown play. Hoagie can typically fire one low round. Satoshi Kodaira, we'll talk a little bit about him. I don't know about Tom Lewis. That's an odd. I don't think I'd be on Tom Lewis for this. And I think that's about it from ownership projections. Oh, way down here you got Scott Harrington coming in around 5%. That's a volatile one. That guy, he can easily shoot a 90 as he can shoot a 70. So, okay, that is what I'm going to give you on the ownership projections. Give you some ideas where you might want to differentiate. Or also just know from who's going to be super chalky. I also wanted to cover, I think I look at this, and I don't know if you could find this information, going probably through just past results on the PGA. but it's a little easier for me to do it because I can quickly siphon. So if you were curious on who shot some of the lowest rounds, so again, from a showdown play, or just guys you're thinking about maybe playing, if you want to see from round one in this order, Mackenzie Hughes, as I mentioned in previous shows, came out and shot that 60 round one. And you can see, did pretty well. I think he ended up, third. The rest, so Mackenzie Hughes, of course, had a good showing at the U.S. Open. Could be very live here. Rory came out round one, shot a 63 at Xander. These guys are not in the field. Victor, not in the field. But you have Mickelson shot a 64. I think I mentioned he was your after a 36 round leader in my preview, or actually the course breakdown show. Sung Yul No, I don't think he's there, or Garcia. But Tyler Duncan, funny enough, shot a 64. He is in his field, but he's not been in very good form. So I looked at him from a value play. They're going to be off him. And then for round two, of course, Will Gordon came out and shot a 62. That got him, into that third position, or definitely helped him. That 64 in round four also helped, but also is what secured some of his status on the PGA. You got Brennan Steele, another person that pops up in my brain is a pretty good fit here. Shot a 62. I already mentioned Phil. Zach Johnson has not been playing good golf, but is a good fit for this course. Has done well here. Of course, you had DJ shoot a 64 who's in there. And then Troy Merritt shot a 64. You can see that was kind of his best round he had, but he's been playing pretty good golf, hitting a lot of fairways, making putts. Definitely been good with a putter. So something to think about there. And then real quickly, round three, we got to just scroll down a little bit because that's everybody that missed a cut up there. He had DJ shoot a 61, hence onto his win here. Brendan Todd fired a 61. He's going to be somebody that I'm going to talk about in the value play. Streelman, who came in second, shot a 63. He had a 64 from Scott Stallings. He's been kind of, 1 day or 2 day show up. I just think of, Quail Hollow. He had a couple of good showings there at Wells Fargo. Kyle Stanley had a 65, a couple 65s. So that's interesting. And then round four, Doc Redman, who was one of my top 15 picks, had a 63. Lucas Glover, I believe, is not in the field, but had a 63. Ryan Armour is in the field. And Reed had a 64s. And then, of course, Will Gordon had 64. Russ Henley popped a 64 and a 65. So kind of bookend some low rounds. Of course, had a good showing at the U.S. Open. And then I mentioned Rafa. Again, this is what Rafa's been doing. So not a bad bet. I did bet him for a first-round leader. He's been kind of doing that. But you can see bookend some good rounds. Okay, I just thought that was kind of, interesting, something that I always look at, especially from a showdown perspective. And then lastly, while I'm here, let's do the weather, and then I'll jump over and do the analysis on the players. So real quick, where I'm pulling from is right below Hartford, Connecticut. So, of course, we're in Cromwell, and this is called Meriden Markham Airport. It's the closest spot that I could find. And it's pretty close, probably within 5-10 miles of the course. If you look at Thursday, nothing really to report there. Everything looks pretty good. Of course, the wind could pick up a little bit in the afternoon. They should be done by 8 p.m., so not too worried about the gusts up to 17. Friday, you can see again, it looks like they could have a little wind in the morning, but then it's, of course, going to pick up later in the afternoon. Really only 2 days that I noticed anything of significance is Saturday and Sunday. So you can see, again, if you're doing a showdown, you might want to try to get your guys in the lower. It looks like it's going to get a bit breezy in the afternoon is what they're predicting. Again, I'm recording this Wednesday afternoon. And then Sunday, same thing. You've got pretty strong gusts and winds. So it looks like Sunday, if this holds up, probably be the toughest day due to wind. So that's your weather report. And, of course, if you're doing showdown, which I'm sure you do, some of you, always keep an eye on the weather when you're building out your teams. Okay, jumping back over to Fantasy National, this is where we are going to break down and do the research and analysis on the guys that are 7,500 and below. As I mentioned, I think these guys are the most crucial to really unlocking. It's the guys below that are going to differentiate typically your lineup, as you see a lot of chalk up top. And the only filter I have on is I'm going to be looking at bent greens, which is going to pull in the courses that I want to reference this data against. And then, of course, this is kind of like a mini stroke gain model. My emphasis is on approach, putting, ball striking, good drives, which you can read there. Good drives are when a player at least hits a fairway or maybe just a little bit off, but definitely hits the green on the approach. Proximity 125 to 150. I'm also one of the big key stroking categories I'm looking at is how they've done on bent greens specifically. Recent results and tournament history. Okay. About 15 guys. The guys that are in green are the ones that I'm going to dive into deeply, and we'll look at some of the other guys too. But yeah, let's do it. Let's go on to Lanto. All right, so you can see Lanto, I think I showed he gained over his last 24 rounds on Ben a half stroke against the field. Gains about a quarter stroke over the life of his career. If we take a look at his approach, kind of just this kind of skew, you can see he had a little dip, but kind of back up, then a little dip. You can look at it. I think this is a simpler way to look at. The putter has been coming back for Lanto, doing good around the green. Now you can see off the tees okay. It's been on approach, but at the U.S. Open, you can see the irons came back. You can see typically over his life, he's a pretty good on approach. And if we go bang up against, some of the courses we want to look at from comp side, of course, we want to look at Travelers, a 24th and a 38th. Go look at Charles Schwab. He's only played there once, had a miscut. He didn't play recently. The Greenbrier, that's back in 2019, 2018. He had a 13th and a 26th. At Shriners, played there only 3 times. Missed the cut on the most recent, but had an 18th in 2019. RBC, played there once. That was a miscut. That was in 2020. What about John Deere? Played there once, 2018, at 16th. PGA Championship. The one that we want to look at here is this one. This is at Harding Park. He had a 19th. That's pretty solid. Better field. A little tougher on all fronts, but very similar from a course kind of play. It's bent par 70, and I believe less than 7,200 yards, or right around there. The Northern Trust of FedEx, that's at TPC Boston. Had a 58th. Let's see what he did to BMW. So this is the second playoff event. That's at Olympia Fields. He actually had a 10th, again, over a year ago. But yeah, good to see. You can see there he was firing on all cylinders. And the last one I mentioned, 3M Open, I'm going to look at, which I didn't look at during the money picks, but I'm throwing that in because some of these guys might have not played in some of the FedEx or PGA events, as I mentioned. Okay, so I like Lanto. I'm going to be rostering him a little bit. I think for that price in this field, that's pretty good. Pretty good. I mentioned RCB, Rafa Cabrera, but he's been popping up. You can see recent results over here. He's made 4 out of the last 5 cuts. Played here once, had a T37. He's been gaining almost a half stroke on bent over his last 24 rounds on bent greens. You can see where he's kind of struggling is, a little bit on approach, which is funny. That was at one time one of his strong suits. So you can see from a models, where he's at. Projected ownership's pretty low. I don't think it's a terrible play down here. Funny enough, I'm actually looking at Ricky this week. I have not looked at Ricky. I've been fading him probably since I've started this show almost a year ago. And but I'm seeing a lot of things out of Ricky, and at this price, I'm going to try to jump on the Ricky train early, and we'll go into why. So you can see his past history here. It's been a while ago. He's done well. He's had that T11 and that T8 recently. And what got me a little bit excited, or why I'm looking at Ricky, bent greens are his best surface. If we pull up and we'll look at strokes gained approached, it's a little bit of a dip, but you can see over his last 5 rounds, he's green everywhere. So he's starting to gain with the putter again. He's gaining around the green, gaining a little on approach, gaining a little off the tee. And off the tee has not really been the issue. Very recently you can see it has, but you can see here was gaining. It was the putter. So the things that I'm looking for, as I said, first off, is approach, putting, and around the green. And you can see, as we all know, Ricky used to be an elite putter, and it looks like, at least over his last 2 rounds, he's maybe found something or starting to get a little more confidence with the putter. And so I'm jumping on early. If we go look at Ricky's past history, I already showed you at the Travelers, he had a 13th twice. Charles Schwab, he missed a cut in 20. Hold on, let me type that in a little further. So a couple of miscuts. And again, a lot of this recent information is not going to be really helpful because we're going on very recent form. But in the past, he's had a 5th, a 14th at Colonial. But that, is a long time ago. Same with Greenbrier. He's actually never played. What about Shriners? So he miscut recently, but had a 4th back in 2018. course, that's at TPC Summerlin. Good comp course. RBC Heritage, again, like I said, it's going to be hard to pull any of these comps off him where you're going to see, I mean, we're just going to be looking at past history. PGA 20 miscut. It's the reason why I was off this guy for quite a while. Northern Trust, he had a 49th at least, so he did, did something at the FedEx event last year. I don't think that was enough. Yeah, I didn't get him through to the next round. I'm going to check 3M just real quick. He's never played. So long story short, the call on Ricky is very recent form and that he's actually found the putter. So we'll see how that all works out. But I do like Ricky. I think, we're getting a pretty good price. You can see his ownership's almost at 10%. So some other people are kind of seeing what I'm seeing. But this will be the first time I put Ricky in a roster as just, I couldn't even tell you from a DFS, probably been 2-3 years. So we'll see. Probably burn me, but I'm going to try. Give it a whirl. Okay, Brennan Todd, you can see when he's on bent over the past 24 rounds, he's getting a stroke and a half. That's ridiculous. Missed a cut recently, and, projected ownership is less than 4%. I like that. And if you look at his history here, last year he had a T11, miscut, then he had a T15. So if you go with every other, could be a miscut this year, but hopefully that is not the case. Everything, of course, it does well on putting, hits the fairways. It's all going to be what he does pretty much on approach. And if we click on Brennan Todd, I mentioned he was gaining almost a stroke and a half over his last 24. Over his career, which has been pretty long, he's gained almost, a half stroke on the field. Can handle the wind because he can hit fairways. If I just go on strokes gained approached, you can see this trend that we do not like to see, but that's been over quite a while. You can see the putter. It's been doing well. Had one good showing with the irons here back at the Charles Schwab. If we type in the Travelers, I kind of already showed you that. Let's go to Charles Schwab. So he's had an 8th recently. He's also had a 5th. So he's had some good success at Colonial. Greenbrier. So this is at the old white TPC course. That's pretty older data, but you can see he's had success there in the past. Miscut would be the most recent. RBC Heritage, this was just recent in the spring. He had a 39th, but it's also had a 4th, but some miscuts sprinkled in there. John Deere in 2019, he had an 18th, and they did not play in 2020 at the John Deere. But if we get into the PGA, some of these FedEx events, so we look back last year, he had a 17th, again at Harding Park. If we look at the Northern, he had a 64 at TPC Boston. At BMW, he had an 8th at Olympia Fields. Again, similar kind of course. And if I plug into 3M, he did not play. So I like Brennan Todd. Chasen Hadley, right? It showed up to Palmetto. Kind of just fell apart on the back nine, or could have won that event. Does quite a bit. I mean, if we just pull up Chasen Hadley, I always think of his approach game. So you can see bent's not his favorite surface. Funny enough, he didn't even gain on approach there. You can see here he's done some good on approach. You see a lot of it was done with the putter. That's hard to reproduce. But funny enough, at the Valero, he also gained 9 strokes almost, so that's kind of crazy. Gained 7 at RSM. Just kind of seeing when he's had some really good putting outings. But yeah, if you're doing it all with a putter, the odds that you're going to do that again are about slim to none. So not on Chasen Hadley. Now, of course, if you've been watching me for a while, been all over Patty Kazire. And funny enough, everything points to Patty Kazire to have a good weekend. Even though he's had a couple miscuts here recently. Of course, before that, he was rocking and rolling. Has been gaining over a half stroke on the bent. If we go pull Patty Kazire's information, if we want to look at stroke gain approach, you can see on the uptrend. Of course, we pull up the Travelers. It's at a 6, a couple miscuts at 53rd, but most recently was a 6. Charles Schwab, as I mentioned, he just had a 3rd recently, and actually was firing on all cylinders, so I hope that stays the way. Greenbrier, a few miscuts, so it doesn't do well at the old white. Shriners hit a second, a fourth in the past, but most recently a 24th. RBC, miscut. I give that a C grade. It's got 3 maids with a 12th, or I'm sorry, with a 14th and then 3 miscuts. So nothing really you could write home. John Deere, again, that's a little while ago, but done all right at TPC Deere Run. The PGA did not play in 2020, or did not actually probably qualify. Northern Trust, and I don't think the BMW either. Let's check 3M Open. Okay, so 3M Open, which again, that's TPC Twin Cities. I think it's a par 71, but it is bent. Some similarities. Like I said, just one more data point. But I like Patty Kazire. I mentioned Zach Johnson, had some low rounds. He's been, let me just go to Zach just so you can see, and also for myself. So you can see, likes to bend surface over the life of his career. This is probably here, the area. So tee to green is where he's kind of struggling. Now around the green and putting, that's where he kind of makes his money. You can see he's had some solid putting rounds. Approach has been, a bit of a struggle, and off the tee is where it's been really hurting. So if you want to know why I'm off on Zach, that is the reason. Munoz, I think he's a great showdown play. I looked at him, thought pretty hard about playing him, but when I kind of bumped him against all the courses, of course, not in the best form, but, Charles Schwab, he had a T3 recently, but if I think that was with like gaining 10 strokes with the putter. Let's go look at that real quick. Yeah. You're not going to, he's not that good of a putter. I like the way he putts. He is not afraid to go 3-4 feet by when he's putting. And you can see he had a nice streak here with the putter. I mean, gaining, but I don't think he's ever gained 10 strokes or even like 3 or 4 strokes. Gained 4 there at the TOC. So he had gained 6 at Sanderson Farms when he won. Yeah, if you gain 10 strokes with a putter, you should win a tournament. And he ended up 3rd, but you can see just little struggles on approaching around the green. So, again, not a terrible play. I'll probably sprinkle him in here or there. Of course, Mackenzie Hughes, already mentioned, came out. He's had a couple low rounds last year. He's done pretty well. He's made the cut every time he's played here. Solid on bent over the last 24. I mean, of course, that's his one weapon. You can see kind of struggling in the other facets, but, maybe he's found something good for him. Russell Knox, he won back here in 2016, but miscut recently. Kind of mixed bag after that. I banged him against also, the other comparable courses, and it just not enough there for me to play max. But also over his last 24, I've been losing with the putter. You can see that's typically where he struggles. Everything else okay, but again, a showdown play not bad. Saw Patty Kazire or Patty Perez. I thought his ownership looked higher than this, if I remember right. You can see recent results. You're looking for a guy that should make the cut, but you see he missed it the one time he's played here, but has made over at least 5 straight cuts. And then the next guy I want to talk about is Ches Reavie. He's just kind of having a resurgence, right? So he qualified for the U.S. Open. He did well at the Palmetto. Of course, he has won here not that long ago, 2019. Again, when I think of this, of course, I think of him. It's all going to come down to the putter. You can see over his last 24 rounds, he's been, losing on all surfaces. But if we go click on Le Ches Reavie, let's go look at some analysis. All right, so stroke gain approach. You can see at least that's still kind of on the way up, which shows here, approach is not the problem. Off the tee is typically not the problem. It's the putter that's typically the problem. But has gained in the last couple. I think we already looked at the Traveler. So if I go to the Charles Schwab, bunch of miscuts recently, but he has had an 11th there, but I don't really count that. We look at Greenbrier. That's a while ago, but made the cut both times. We look at Shriners. 63rd recently, 24th. RBC, nothing to write home about. John Deere. PGA, he had a 75th, so he made the cut, I guess, at Harding Park. And like I said, a lot of this stuff that we're looking at, he made it a 49th. in a BMW. So long story short, like the Ricky Fowler pick, I think Chez is making a little bit of a resurgent. You're getting him at $7,000. The guy can play when he's playing. In this course, I think sets up perfect for him. I already mentioned Kyle Stanley. Pretty good tournament history here. Pretty decent recent results. It's all the putter is where he's been falling apart, but everything else solid green that I'd be looking for. The Gooch, I think for 7K, he's probably one of the better plays from a value side, but I think when everything from a whole, I just couldn't get. So, I mean, he's positive on bent. We look at his approach. I think my final decision on Gooch on why he was not one of my top 5 is purely when I think of Gooch, I think he does well at courses that are longer, more harder, like a Max Homa. If we want to look at, so he's 2 times he's played the Travelers, had missed cuts, so that's probably part of it. Charles Schwab, he had a 14th recently, a couple missed cuts, a couple made cuts. What about Greenbrier? Miscut and 21, so that's not terrible. Shriners, miscut, a 71, a 16th. John Deere, that's a while ago, but a 63rd. Miscut at the PGA in 2020 at Harding Park. Northern Trust, he had an 18th, so that's not bad at TPC Boston. BMW. Yeah, so, I mean, again, I couldn't kill you. I think for the price and what you're getting from a player, I think it's not a bad play. It's just I can't pick him. Same with Ryan Moore. I mean, he comes up, as you can see, ranked 3rd on my model. Recent results is kind of eh. I think he also is coming off an injury not too long ago. I get him mixed up always with Armour. But again, it could be a very solid play. Satoshi Kodaira, I wanted to click on him real quick because he was close to going in. His recent form is it. I mean, if you just look at crazy recent form, and this guy was at one time like going to be like the next Morikawa. Like this guy was touted to be the greatest thing since sliced bread at one time coming out. But gaining tee to green, gaining off the tee over the last few, gaining on approach, and then going nutty with his putter. And I think that's on some different surfaces. It's not the same surfaces. So again, I think probably not a bad showdown play, but also, someone that you could definitely consider. Now, I know he's had 2 missed cuts at the Travelers, but couldn't kill you for playing. And then Brian Stewart, just bringing him up. I think he's a solid play. Again, my model ranked him out of 12th. The big model, you see the smaller model likes him. Not the best. I mean, recently had a T20 here, but I think his game fits this course. And then last guy that I'll bring up, Vincent Whaley, just so you don't forget this guy. This guy was never played here, but just producing, kind of like top 25s. And for kind of almost men price, 6,400. I mean, he's not men, but if you need a guy, if you're down that low, you can't really go wrong. Strokes gain approach, not too spectacular. But at the Charles Schwab, a good comparable, had a 20th. I think I plugged. He didn't have a lot of comparables, so he's never played the Travelers. You just saw the Charles. I don't think played Greenbrier once, miscut. I just plug him in. Yeah, I think it was. He just didn't have enough comparables for me to bank off, but I think just on recent form could be a very solid play down there. Okay, I think that's about it. That gives you a lot of thoughts on some guys that you might want to play down here. Let's go wrap this thing up. Okay, so with that said, let's go over my top 5 value plays, and we're going to start out with Ricky Fowler. Again, been a little crazy. Been playing some guys that I never thought I'd put up there, but I think Ricky's maybe turned a corner. I think this could be a good fit for him. Look for, like a top 25 out of Ricky would be great. You got Brendan Todd. I think, it's easy if anybody could go out and win this tournament. I like the Todd. Patty Gazire, the guy that I've just been riding. Hopefully that he is due and breaks through with a win here. I think it's all going to come down to his, off the tee, what he's doing with the driver. The guy's, I think pretty elite, definitely with the putter. But yeah, I'm hoping I've got some bets on him. Going to build some lineups with him. So I'm going to try one more time. So, you guys got to make your call on that if you want to try Patty Gazire one more time. Chez Reavie, I like him. Again, great. There's one here. Good. Just this kind of fits Chez, and he's showing some life again. So that's the short of it is I put him with like Ricky Fowler, just recent life, and hopefully they found something. Then last but not least, kind of I'd say more of a condom play, but Lonto Griffin, the guy, if he's firing man, can go low. So I like Lonto. That's my top 5 guys down in the 7,500 below. Of course, I already picked. I think it was Maverick McNeely. I think he's 7,200. Put him in my top 15. I think he could be the kind of the shocker guy that's up at the top of the board. And that's it. I hope that helps. All the best of luck to you guys. And of course, as always, like, share. If you're not subscribed, trying to keep building a subscribe base, keep me doing this. And if I can help you out, hit me up on YouTube comments or, of course, on Twitter at DFS Golf Guru. And hey, I'm excited to watch this tournament. I think it's going to be nice to have a little more scoring and from a showdown perspective. I enjoy the tournaments where guys can shoot 7, 8, 10 under. So we'll see. Should be a lot of fun. Take care.